Oh. And we are live. This is Travis Witherspoon from Carter Cow Capital, helping you fight for your financial freedom throughout the FOREX market. This is a 9 p.m. session of Trade with Travis. Hopefully, everybody's doing very well. This is going to end up being a quick session. Typically, when we end up going through the 9 p.m. session, we end up talking about trades that we end up taking, whether if we end up doing good, whether if we end up doing bad or indifferent when it came down to the overall moves. There was really not that many trades that I end up saying that I was interested in being able to get in, but there was a lot of movement that ended up happening today. And I wish that obviously if I don't go based off of rules and just trade it based off of what I see, um, I probably would have been in a better situation. But I felt pretty good. Today was a small win day. Overall, on one of my systems, and then the other one, or manually, I think I ended up taking a loss today based off of the sell trade that we ended up looking at on US 30. So with that being said, let's go ahead and go through the disclaimer. We'll talk about those trades and more. For the people that will watch this live, one, thank you for being able to watch this live. We literally just hit 600. We was at 500 followers, I want to say about every bit, I want to say about a week and a half ago, and we ended up pushing it up to 6. So truly very grateful to be able to have more people being able to watch, more people being able to tune in. Hopefully, more people to be able to profit when it comes down to these moves. And hopefully, we can keep on doing that on the road to 1,000 and then further beyond from there. So, with that being said, let's go ahead and get through the disclaimer. Like I said, today is probably going to end up being a quick session compared to what we've done over the course of the last few mornings. We don't went out. We don't went. I want to say hours on the last 3 sessions, at least an hour in the last 3 sessions. So typically we do this for 30 to 45 minutes. I would like to be able to keep it in that span tonight, especially if there's no like true trading opportunities. So here we go. I'm not a CTA, so I'm not going to tell you whether to buy or sell. What I'm going to do is teach you education, and from the education, you can be able to make your own informed decision. Now, understand that trading involves risk. It involves risk of being able to make money, also involves risk of being able to lose money. So please keep that in mind. And understand that past performance is not indicative of future results, which means that if you end up making money yesterday, it's not promised that you can end up making money today. So with that being said, as we go through and take a look at what's happening for the overall movement, always start off with the economic calendar, see what ended up happening overall today for the news, and then after that, how it kind of ties into what we're going to see tomorrow. Overall, Governor Bailey ended up speaking when it came down to the pounds. I really didn't see that much movement when it came down to this overall movement for the pounds. And to be honest, I really wasn't kind of looking forward and really kind of paying attention forward because I don't necessarily trade pound pairs all that much anymore. I trade more, obviously, if y'all notice, I trade more indices than I do pound pairs, but there's always an opportunity. I'm always interested in being able to take it. Interest rate decision ended up coming out from the Bank of Canada, ended up being 3.25. I would like to see how that kind of affected some of the Canadian dollar pairs. Typically, when you end up having, especially with the Canadian dollar over the last few years, the day before a high impact news comes in, the market is like in a very tight consolidation. And then after that, once the news comes out, it typically explodes in one direction. So I'd like to see what ended up happening for those overall moves as well. GDP just happened with the Japanese yen. It ended up being 3.5. We'll see how that ends up affecting the overall market when it comes down to that. And a little bit later on today, we're going to end up having Governor Lowe speak for the Australian dollar when it comes down to news. Now, going into tomorrow, we're going to end up having initial jobless claims, and Chairman Powell's going to end up speaking at 9:10 a.m. So I'm going to say this now, and I say this all the time. When Jerome Powell speaks, whatever he ends up saying, the market is going to end up moving. So typically, if I know that he's going to end up speaking the day before, then I'm typically sitting on my hands and I'm actually kind of waiting to be able to see what's going to end up happening 15 to 20 minutes after he ends up speaking, after he ends up going through the speech. Now, we take a look at what's going to end up happening tomorrow. I don't know what they're talking about. It's a regular meeting. Obviously, it's going to end up being for the Federal Reserve. I'm pretty sure it's probably going to end up talking about inflation. It's probably going to end up talking about interest rates at some point when it comes down to those movements. And we'll see how that kind of reacts, or how the market's going to end up reacting based off of that. So I'm going to be honest with you. if you're looking to be able to say, hey, is there a pair that I can possibly be able to get into that is mainly US based, I'm gonna caution with every statement that I'm gonna end up saying by saying that at 9:10 a.m. tomorrow, that whatever I end up saying for the overall move could be affected by what Jerome Powell ends up saying at that particular point in time. Okay, that's the reason why I think today is going to end up being a very quick session compared to the other sessions that we've had, because the market's probably going to end up being a consolidation in anticipation on what may end up happening based off of that movement. For the people that are watching live, if that makes sense, type in a wire yes. And as we go through, let's go ahead and take a look at some of the trading pairs. So let's talk about what ended up happening. We ended up taking a trade on US 30. That trade on US 30 was to the downside based off of a counter trend line break that ended up happening right in here. What was it? Was it US 30? I'm almost for certain it was US 30. End up taking a sell trade when the market ended up dropping to the downside. It gave us another opportunity to be able to get back in. Once it ended up happening, I started to notice that the market was in consolidation, and based off of the movement of where we ended up getting in, I felt like it wasn't going to be as good of a trade to stay in at that particular point. So that trade that I looked at was at 31.2, not 31.230, or was it at 31.230? Oh, okay. It was at 30. It was at 31.088 when the market ended up breaking the counter trend line and started to move, and then from there started to pick back up. That last 15 minutes when the market ended up making this U-turn, and then after that retesting this overall area, I was like, okay, well, I know that my stop loss is above 31.225, but I really feel like if I hold on to this trade at this particular point, the market's going to end up pushing me out, and I'm going to end up losing a full percentage off of this trade. So what I ended up saying was that, okay, in that case, I'm just going to go ahead and just bite the bullet, go ahead and get out of the trade and kind of go from there. I ended up noticing that the market started to push up once that ended up happening. And when it ended up pushing up, I ended up getting into a trade right on the outside of that consolidation at 31.230. When I ended up getting into that trade, it put my take profit was at 31.330. For the first hour, it ended up pushing up 100 points. My trail stop was triggered in which I had my trail stop at 50 points away. When the market basically ended up retesting this overall zone, it ended up taking me out. I ended up winning $300 based off of this movement, but it definitely wasn't the full amount of what I was trying to go after based off of that. I was trying to go after 130 points. Obviously, the market moved up way more than what it actually ended up doing. And looking at my volume profile on MetaTrader kind of has me kicking myself on this one, because this is a fairly large low volume node that we're actually in. So I will almost say that if you could be able to catch a counter trend line break, kind of like what's happening right now, I would consider to keep on buying. Now the problem is, going back to what I ended up saying earlier, is this going to end up being a short-sided move from this overall standpoint, only because of what may end up happening a little bit later on today. But overall, with that being said, there's another resistance that's about to happen at 31.709, and then after that at 31.989 today for his overall movement that could potentially end up happening. There is a counter trend line break that's currently happening at this particular point. Hypothetically, if you wanted to be able to take that trade, you could. I'll place my stop loss below the swing low at 31.540, and then after that, see if you can be able to ride it up at least to 31.709. That give about 100 points when it comes down to that movement. May be one of those trades that you may want to consider. And because there is a counter trend line break for us at overall movement, you take a look at what's happening based off of the hour. We're kind of going back inside of that larger consolidation block that I end up showing a little bit earlier. But another thing is that we're outside of the channel. So because we are outside of the channel, that may be something to truly kind of keep a mindset on when it comes down to that movement. and being able to say, hey, if you're interested in being able to stay in, or if you're interested in being able to make a move, this might be the time to be able to do it. So I don't know if I'm going to end up taking this one. There's the true counter trend line break. There's a true movement from there. We are in a low volume node. Maybe one of those situations where I might consider it for its overall movement, but I don't know at this particular point. Taking a look at what's happening with DAX. DAX is still inside of consolidation. They end up breaking to the outside. We actually have a spot now to where we can kind of truly take a look and kind of know what's happening with this movement for this overall pair. Currently, right now, if we look at the high volume node, we're getting towards the edge of that high volume node peak at 12,000 at 12,985. If it does break that overall area, then it has an opportunity to being able to push back up to 13,160 relatively quickly. Now, obviously, we end up having some of this consolidation that end up happening where the resistance was at 13,036. The question would be, will this market be able to fully break out of 13,036 and not necessarily hesitate from that overall position overall from a movement? And then from there, let's see, if I was to do this one, if I go 31,540 and I said supposed to take profit on that one, I'm thinking about a trade on US 30, just to be able to see if we can be able to get the rest of this position. Let's see. I got 31. 31,718, so 31,720 will be the next area of where the high volume node actually end up being. If this market remains to be above this overall counter trend line break, then I would somewhat consider that trade. Let's see. I'm sorry. I'm trying to get a game plan on this one real quick. If I do decide to be able to take it, and what it will actually end up looking like. I know if I end up taking this trade, this will end up being one of those trades to where, if I do take it, when I leave from here, um, I know I'm probably not going to look at it again. So it'll probably be more of a scalp trade than anything else. 31. What was that position? 31, 720. Casey, what's going on? Hope everything's going well with you. Yeah, I'm going to take it. Here we go. So I'm going to enter in at 31. I got 31,613 for the overall movement. Stop loss, I have 31,545. So if it drops below 545, then I just go ahead and bite the bullet on that loss. Take profit will end up being at 31,720 if the market continues to move at the pace that it is. So I'll take a look at that. We'll come back to that one, see how well it ends up doing, see how well it doesn't do. And then after that, kind of make my mind up on what I want to be able to do for that overall position. Currently, right now, I see that it's kind of making a little bit of a U-turn to the downside. So, probably might end up having to be a little bit more patient on this one and see what happens. But there we go. If it continues to be able to move from there, I'm just trying to see if we can be able to get the rest out of this high volume node. I'm going to be a little bit, like I said, going to be a little bit patient when it comes down to this one. But as long as this market stays above this counter trend line break, then I think we'll be okay. All right, so Casey, Australian entry at 97.41, stop loss 60 cent, target 98.47. I'll make sure I end up taking a look at AJ real quick. Let's go ahead and get through DAX. Like I ended up saying, DAX has the opportunity for this overall movement if it continues to be able to continues to keep on moving. There's a high volume node that has a larger pocket all the way up to 31,164. Um, Obviously, I end up showing that this is somewhat of a box consolidation, but if you look at the high volume node is really telling you that if you jump in now, that you have a better chance of being able to kind of ride out this movement. Um, Now, 15-minute is somewhat not necessarily in the buy zone. We do see a little bit of consolidation when it comes down to this movement. So the question would be, are we just looking at a U-turn that's about to happen and then it may end up falling first before actually being able to pop up to the upside? Or do we have a true opportunity to be able to turn this into a solid trade? Um, with that being said, I would actually end up looking at, even though the market is at 31,970, I would not look at being able to get into this trade until the market ends up breaking above 12,990. Because if it breaks above 12,990, then now you have opportunity of being able to make a move off of that and being able to go from there. Um, I'll come back from Dow Jones and see what's happening with that. But I wouldn't look at making a move until the market ends up breaking above 12,990. Once the market ends up breaking above 12,990, then you have an opportunity. I need to make it a long trade. Then we can consider this market going up to 13. What did I number? I said 13,160. I believe I said 13,160. Yeah, 13,160. Stop loss on this one. To be safe, you can place it below the point of control and below that highest peak of the high volume node, which is, let's see if I can zoom this out a little bit better and get a better number. Um, 12,896. That'll make it a risk reward factor of 1 to 1.98. If it does end up breaking out of that overall area, I would like that. I would like that number overall if it does happen. Um, Obviously, because it's early with US 30, I'm seeing that the market's starting to U-turn a little bit. If it breaks below the counter trend line break, then I would look at considering being able to just go ahead and making a decision on that one. But until that happens, I'm still going to end up going to still kind of hold this one off and kind of see if this market kind of remain to be somewhat bullish. Let's talk about NYSE 100 real quick, and then after that, I go ahead and talk about AJ. So we talked about, I did remember talking about this one. We ended up talking about this space that NYSE ended up happening once it ended up breaking above 12,184. Once again, I didn't take this trade. I mapped it out, but I did not plug that one in. And that's my fault because I should have did that one. But market ended up pushing up and basically fulfilling this overall gap. Currently, right now, we can see that the market's starting to show a little bit more consolidation for that movement. But there was a little bit of a vortex space from um, this area. Obviously, we had that big run that ended up happening right here, but mainly from that 12,185 all the way up to 12,250 was the position that I was primarily looking at for us being able to get in. I didn't pull the trigger on it because obviously I was looking at just this large box consolidation and saying that, hey, I want to be a little bit more conservative and wait for the market to be able to break out. In which sometimes I do that. It is what it is when it comes down to that movement. But you got to be patient on those moves when it comes down to that. S&P, same deal. Market broke into this box consolidation. I said I didn't want to do anything until the market actually ended up breaking and giving a direction. I was hoping more for a sell. The market actually ended up popping up to the upside, kind of fell into this overall area and finished out this pocket that was right here. Because of that, there's currently not another move until the market breaks above 39,995, and then after that, obviously, clearly until it breaks out of 4,015, there'll be a better move that you can be able to get into with the take profit of 4,110 that we ended up talking about earlier. What's going on? Hope everything's going well with you. Did you take a trade today? Eltrad, did you end up taking a trade today? What was your overall thought process for the market today? As I take a look at AJ real quick. I know we ended up talking about that earlier, and know if you end up taking a trade. Let's see. Let's see. Let's go. 3%. Okay, so I was in gold about at 1693. Okay, we'll take a look at that one as well. Currently, how well is that doing for you? Let's see. All right, so Casey, you end up getting in 97.41. Oh, this is a pending. This got to be a pending order. Casey, I'm guessing this is the pending order, correct? Stop loss 60 cent below it. Target 98. Okay. So you're about to get placed in, basically. We'll take a look at it like we always do. Let's see, 60 cent down. That would be what, 96.80? Got to be 96.80. All right. I got a lot of stuff going on this chart. Gotta clear the screens real quick. Okay, so I just want to remove all the drawings. Just remove all the drawings. Clear the screen. We'll start all over. All right, currently, I probably should have did it with the weekly first. It's the daily. Go to the weekly. All right, so markets in the R3 for its overall movement, it retraced down to the 236, which means that it's in an 80-20 rule. You'll probably end up seeing a little bit of hesitation right around 101.97. Obviously, you'll be out of the market before that actually ends up happening, but I would expect that some people will start to look at being able to sell the market when it ends up getting to that point. Currently, right now, if we're looking at this movement from a weekly perspective, obviously the market is bullish, so I would say keep that in mind. Now, taking a look at it from a daily perspective, you see that the market ended up having consolidation, ended up breaking down to the downside. It ended up being a false break, and then after that, it went back inside of consolidation, then breaking up to the upside. So currently, right now, if I'm looking at it, when I look at it on the trading view charts, I would probably see that it's in a low, that it's kind of moving in a low volume node at this particular point and starting to move up towards take profit. With that being said, from a daily perspective, the stochastic is at 70%. Doesn't necessarily mean that that it's completely overbought. Just means that the market may end up retesting this move first before actually being able to go down. Because your entry is at 97.41, I hope that you didn't get placed in. Let's see, the high was at 97.48, so you probably just got triggered in for that overall movement. I hope that you don't get caught in a situation to where on the 2 hour, because the market is in the sell zone, that the market may end up retracing first before actually pushing you back in. If that does happen and you do see a counter trend line break, especially off the 15-minute, because we are in the Asian session, I'll be a little bit more cautious about that and possibly may look to be able to exit and then re-enter if it does take you out for that position. But obviously, overall, I know, in case I know your skill set, so I know that you know what you're doing when it comes down to that movement. The only thing that I would say, if this, be cautious about the counter trend line break. If it breaks the counter trend line break, overall, it's probably going to end up, it probably may end up taking you out. Because currently, right now, the market went parabolic, and because it's done went parabolic, typically you end up seeing a massive drop before actually being able to fall back to, in this case, the innermost trend line for its overall movement. I wouldn't be mad about the move. I wouldn't be mad about the thought process. I'm guessing that you tried to get in based off of when the market ended up breaking toward the upside and truly saying, okay, well, this has a chance of being able to roll. Currently, right now, if you go based off of the 2 hour and seeing that is leaving the sell zone, there's about 8 hours of overall time to where the market can be bearish first before actually being able to pop back up. So that'll be the only thing that I caution you with. Yeah, that'll be the only thing that I end up cautioning you with. Already done went 3 lines, so there goes your outer, there goes your inner, there goes your innermost trend line. You don't typically make a fourth line. So as this market is kind of maneuvering its way, I guess my hope for you would be that when this market ends up making a U-turn, it kind of finds some overall space right here before actually being able to push back up and remaining above 97. If that does happen, then it will keep you in. If it doesn't, then obviously go ahead and take you out for that small loss. Let's go back to US 30 real quick. US 30 broke the counter trend line. Looks like it's retesting at this particular point at 31,604. End up taking in an entry at 31,620. I took another one at 31,595. Obviously, take profit that we're looking at will end up being at 31,720. Because it is above the counter trend line break, I am going to remain to keep it, remain to be a little bit more positive when it comes down to this move. If the market ends up rejecting a little bit more and then after that falls inside of the area right around 31,575, that'll be my warning area for us being able to get out if that does happen. Anywhere right around 31,575 will end up being a warning area for me because it'll break another low. If that ends up, well, it'll break a midpoint low and it actually end up breaking below the counter trend line break if that actually happens. So I'm going to place an alert. I'm placing an alert on this for me. If that actually ends up happening, probably need to be a little bit more patient, just allow this thing to be able to ride out. But I don't know. We'll see. We'll just kind of play this one by ear. DAX, I'm going to go ahead and place in this pending order. Go ahead and get this out the way now. I end up saying 12,990 was the area where I would like to be able to get in. Currently, the market's at 12,982. So 12,990 will end up being the area where I would like to be able to get in. Stop loss. if you're being aggressive, I would say stop loss, make it below the actual support at this level of 12,950. Because it is a smaller consolidation, you can be able to get out early if you know that the market's going to end up breaking down. I end up saying 12,896 was my stop loss, and the take profit was at 13,160. That's the overall take profit. It's a 1 to 2 risk reward ratio. If you end up taking it from there, you want to be a little bit more aggressive. You can be able to do it right at the bottom of that consolidation level. If you do it from there, I would say do it at 12,933 for the overall position. It'll definitely give you a better risk reward factor. You'll be risking 50 points if you end up doing that compared to the 85 points that I end up saying. I think I might end up doing that. It'll give you a 1 to 3 risk reward ratio if you end up doing that, and it'll be below the overall consolidation box that's actually being shown. So if you're wrong, be wrong quick, and then after that, if it's right, then obviously you can be able to get more because you get paid off more by being able to have your stop loss a little bit tighter. Let's see, 12,930. All right, so placed in that trade. I placed in that trade on that one. Entry at 12,990. If it does break out to the upside and ends up going, that'll be the trade that I take. The stop loss will end up being at 12,930. Target will end up being at 13,160 if that does happen. 13,160 if that does happen. Okay. Let's see. Hopefully that plays out in our favor as well as we end up taking a look at this market. I'm going to go ahead and shut it down here. Just a brief review. US 30 took a buy. Gonna kind of see how this market kind of reacts. It is in a low volume node area. Just want to see if we can be able to get some follow through. Obviously, Jerome Powell's going to end up speaking a little bit earlier, a little bit later on tomorrow at 9:10. So I will be out of this movement. I'll be out of this move whether if I win or lose before Jerome Powell ends up speaking. Don't want to sit up there and risk anything or keep anything open if that does happen. DAX have a pending order of 12,990 if the market ends up breaking above that, and then obviously we got another one that should be at 13,040, targeting the same position at 13,160 for us being able to get in and being able to go from there. NAS. No trade yet. The trade actually ended up happening earlier today. XPX 500. Obviously, we still had those pending orders in from previously. We ended up going from there. If you like what I ended up doing, go ahead and click on that boost button to be able to help me out for being able to push this out to everybody else. Obviously, we end up talking in the morning when it comes down to that movement and kind of seeing how the market's going to end up reacting. And like always, make sure that you end up planning your trade your plan. Hopefully, everybody end up having a good trading day today. Hopefully, you end up having a better trading day tomorrow. And obviously, keep on pressing that trigger button when it comes down to placing in these trades. You don't know which ones are going to end up being good. You don't know which ones are going to end up being bad. The only thing that you can do is have an educated guess on the ones that you place in, and then hope that your education and a little bit of luck plays in your favor. Everybody, take it easy.